All right, we're going to start the show right now. The first thing we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is the big controversial two-part episode that just aired on,
4 hours.
on HBO. I believe his name was Dan Reed.
I have their names here.
Well, it's right here.
So this is about
Dan
two.
Reed. I am correct.
Two young guys. Well, he's the director, Dan Reed.
Well,
yeah,
he put this together. He also
produced it.
did
He used
an
to be
original. He did an original episode. He started the whole Michael Jackson thing. This whole.
I believe he was. He worked
like
in
in
HBO
2014.
Too. Yeah,
he actually began this project.
For those of you that don't know, this is basically a documentary chronicling two people who were saying they were molested by Michael Jackson for several years when they were very young.
Correct.
And this is them as adults now in their 30s telling their story, obviously now that Michael Jackson is
What
passed.
a beautiful image you've gotten here, Chris, for us.
Yes.
This is just lovely. Did you purposely take a knife and
No, that picture was deliberately an old 80s printout photo.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I can't touch that.
Okay.
He looks like Michael Chiklis from The Shield.
He does.
That's the director right there.
He does look like Michael.
But the two guys, the two accusers, their names are Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck.
That is correct.
Jimmy is from California.
They're both from Australia.
No, Jimmy is California. Wade is Australian.
Oh, okay. I thought they were both Australian.
No,
They started in Australia.
Well, Wade was in Australia.
I think Jimmy did too.
No, he was California. He was up in that small town, Simi Valley. That's where he was from. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is Wade's family in Australia.
Yeah.
That's him right there when he was young.
Right.
5 years old is when he met Jackson and
know.
started doing dancing.
They started kind of, it's very interesting. I have to say, I'm going to say right off the bat, do I believe these young guys that what happened to them happened to them? I do.
I do
believe that in everything, and all we've heard about Michael Jackson and his obsession with young men. I'll never forget, he was there was a show on one particular year, and he was slow dancing, and it was Pat. It was a guy with red hair, and he used to be on Entertainment Tonight. Pat something or other, and then he kind of got disbarred because he left an answering message on someone's machine and he swore.
You're talking about Pat O'Brien.
Pat O'Brien.
That was Access Hollywood.
Okay.
That happened in like 2004 or 5.
Right.
Pat O'Brien.
Something happened to him. But anyway, I'll never forget. Michael Jackson there was some special on television, and there was Emmanuel Lewis, who played Webster. And there was Michael Jackson with Emmanuel there, and Pat O'Brien said to his co-host, might have been Billy Bush for that matter, and he just simply said, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" And he said, I think if you're talking about what I think I'm seeing, he says, yeah, Michael Jackson is slow dancing very romantically with Emmanuel Lewis from Webster. Little kid, yeah. Black guy who was adorable and did a great.
I love Webster.
Webster was a great.
I think he's dead, isn't he, Emmanuel Lewis?
I don't know. You could look that up. I have no idea.
My phone's charging, so.
But Michael, while I'm watching this show, this is a show about pedophilia in the greatest sense.
In graphic detail, we must tell you. It's on HBO.
According to these young guys,
yeah.
And I do believe them, so I'm not going to say according to anymore. I'm just going to say that these are the allegations. I believe every millisecond of what happened to them. We back it up where Michael goes to. He doesn't just seduce the kids; he seduces the entire family.
The family.
He comes in. He meets mom. He meets the sister. He's charming. He's Michael Jackson. People love Michael Jackson. They're seduced before he walked in the door.
I know.
Because everybody loves this man.
It's true.
And has loved him throughout, certainly, their lifetime.
Of course.
They're emulating him. That's how they get to know him. Because they're going to small dance contests. They begin dancing like Michael.
Yeah.
The one guy from Australia.
Wade, he's the one that starts winning those contests.
He's the one that he's an incredible dancer on his own.
And he becomes a choreographer for Britney Spears
and in Sync.
Yeah.
He did. They show them. He's incredible.
Later adolescent, yeah.
Incredible. But we see the seduction. We see Michael at their home. I mean,
sleeping over.
He's
sleeping over the house of a 7-year-old.
Exactly.
And the mother's doing laundry for him.
The mother is saying, he's like one of my sons.
Yeah.
It's like, I love him. Sure, he's this world star, but he's claiming how lonely he is, and he doesn't have any friends, and he sets himself up as the poor little boy.
Yeah.
Now I want to say
classic Peter Pan syndrome.
Exactly. Well, it's classic. It's classic seduction syndrome more than what it really is. Look at him, how gaunt.
Well,
This
no,
is
but I'm
near the
saying
end of his life.
he has a Peter Pan syndrome.
Look at that nose.
I know, it's messed up.
Of course, it's messed up due to the pixelation. There's Joe.
There's Joe, that son of a bitch.
That horrible human being.
Yeah,
who
he's dead,
beat
right?
those kids.
He's dead.
He is.
He's
He
dead.
only just died, I think,
A few
last
years
year.
ago. Yeah.
Like last year. But, you know, as I'm watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, well, Michael Jackson, you know, he's a predator, and the way he goes about this, and the way he seduces these kids, and it becomes graphically sexual, not to the point of penetration. There is one point where...
Well, later on, there's some mentions of some penetration.
Yeah, he tried to penetrate...
the one guy, Jimmy.
Jimmy...
When he was more of a teenager.
Correct.
Yeah.
When they were getting older and so forth. He did try and do some penetration on him, but, you know, they start pretty quick. The thing that kind of got me right off the bat was, how do these kids, they're 7 years old, we all know how 7-year-old kids talk, but these kids are very, very smart.
Yeah.
They're dancers, they're doing things, they're emulating their hero, here he is.
Yeah.
And they're completely so involved in Michael, but it just seems to me that, you know, the mother might say, sleeping in Neverland, sleeping overnight,
buddy.
sleeping, there he is, Mr. Chump himself. But it just seems to me that now I lost Mike.
You're saying the mothers.
The mother's correct.
Because I was going to touch on that too.
Well, that's what he said.
But
that's what Michael said. But it just seems to me that if a mother goes to her son, who she's going to see every day, now he's sleeping with Michael.
Yeah.
Michael is doing this touchy thing. Sleeping in underpants, and they kind of start touching each other.
Hanky-panky.
A lot of little hanky-panky going on there, and it's all very slowly done. Michael doesn't just, you know, initiate it. He does it very, very slowly.
Phases.
And all in love and all in cherish.
This is what friends do when they love each other.
You're special to me, and I'm special to you. And he's laying down the excuses to have sex.
Of course.
But at the same time, I do believe in my heart that Michael Jackson, all I was going to say, first of all, about the mothers is, I cannot believe that a mother would say to a 7-year-old, how did everything go last night? You know, not assuming that anything went on, but it just seems to me that a 7-year-old might say, oh yeah, Michael and I kissed, or Michael and I did this,
well, that's why
just
from
very
the
harmlessly.
Beginning, he's telling these kids, you can't tell your parents or anybody about what we're doing here in terms of the sexual stuff.
Or otherwise, whoa! Oh shit! I thought he was peeing on the...
Or otherwise, you and I are both going to go to jail for life. He would keep
only set
drilling
that,
that point home.
Yeah, but he only set that up later on. Or the first thing he blackmailed them with is that this is all going to end. That if you say something to your mother,
well, that too.
This
yeah,
ends.
Of course.
We can't go on tour anymore. We can't do anything. It's all going to be over.
Yeah.
You know, you're my friend. I'm your friend. What we say to each other is between us and no one else. And that's how he blackmailed them with that whole. You know, he's bringing them on tour.
I know.
They're touring with him.
He's giving them
Little Wade
suites everywhere they go in terms of the hotel suites.
It's junk
limousine,
food heaven.
first class,
and his whole family. Also.
Parents
flying everywhere. And
then one woman talks about how the California guy Jimmy, at one point later on in life, they wanted to get into a house. He gives them a loan for the house and then forgives the debt and says, no, this home is a gift. He buys them a gift, and she says the timing of that. I know it looks suspicious.
Yeah.
You didn't buy it.
Well, that was right after.
That was during the trials in 2004 or 5.
Either 5 to 25 million. We later found out it was $25 million.
Yeah.
He paid that kid off.
For the one kid,
that was
Jordan
the kid,
something.
He was like right. He was more like a Latino.
Yeah, he was later on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but they were saying there was the one mother, I believe it was Jimmy, the American mother, the California mother. She's the one who eventually, her opinion of him changed. Whereas the Australian mother, for the longest time, was in denial about Michael doing this, Michael doing that. And the American mother at one point had said she started noticing a pattern. Every 12 months, Michael would have a new boy.
Right.
That would be his golden child.
Correct.
Until, I guess, he started having his own children. You know, and then he would
I don't
have
believe he moved on to seduce his own children.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the behavior, bringing all these other boys, kind of stopped for the most part once he started having children.
Well,
and he would only bring these kids in groups for parties and stuff.
But it wasn't every 12 months. I mean, he was with little Wade there from age 7 to 14.
But after a while, after he started fading away from those two boys, the mother had said she noticed there was always a new boy every year.
Well,
after those two, the initial two.
Well, the initial two stayed also
for a while.
They stayed.
But they were getting less and less attention from him.
Precisely, and the parents could always see what they were on the way out, because they would all stay at Neverland, and the new people would not be talking to them.
Yeah,
because they would be standoffish, because Michael had already given them the speech.
Exactly.
Hey, these new people are coming. You know, the people that have been here. You know, Michael was move them in, move them out.
This is the mother of the Australian boy.
Now, one thing I want to talk about, and this is something that went through my mind as I'm watching this whole thing, and you have to say to yourself, how did Michael Jackson get to this point? Where, I mean, he did marry Lisa Marie Presley at one point.
Yeah.
She did say on a show that they only had sex once. And then the person even said to her, was it any good? She said, it was great. She even said it was great.
I think he's had sex with many women in his life.
I'm sure he probably has.
He knows what but I guess...
But,
if we're to believe these boys, this is more his preference,
I would say so. But, I wonder if it's because, I just started going into a whole internal mind chat with myself of how does Michael Jackson become like this? And he makes it very clear to these kids right off the bat. Boy, you're too bright, dude. He makes it clear to these guys right off the bat that he doesn't like women, that women are too talky. Janet and Latoya and everybody, and Mom.
Well, you keep saying you can't trust women.
You can't trust them.
Instilling that in the boys.
They just blabber too much. They're too much in your face. They want to control you. They want to do so. Stay away from them. It's like priests. Priests, I don't believe, are always initially gay. I think that it just comes down to the fact that who is around them that they can manipulate.
It's like guys in prison. That's what's there.
What's there?
It's just a hole.
Any warm hole.
Yeah, that's all it is.
By the way, just announced tonight on the news that this very star on the whole Walk of Fame in Hollywood is now kind of under observance.
Yeah, for the cops. Yeah.
People want to go and pee on it and abuse it just like they did to Trump's.
Of course.
But so I'm thinking to myself, how does Michael Jackson get involved in this? And I do believe it has a lot to do with the fact that these are the people that he really did trust. He does trust children.
Yeah.
I think there is an initial love there that he does have for them.
Yeah.
And then he just sees an opportunity. Hey, I don't want to deal with older women. I don't want to go down that path. Why not? I mean, every performer in the world has a zillion girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. If you're gay, you're gay. But Michael, I just often wonder, I do believe that it was the child within himself.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that I think he, in his mindset, is still a child in many ways. Not that excuses any of his behavior, but I think, like I said before, Peter Pan syndrome, he's a guy who was robbed of his childhood very young.
True.
He became this famous icon for many decades, never had a chance to just be a child. Why do you think Neverland Ranch is this secluded playground with a zoo, with a train, they kept saying how many toys were just in every little area. This is a guy who I think saw in these boys his peers, his equals in terms of maturity, mindset. Let's just play. How else, the mother remarks, are you going to have a 7-hour conversation with a 7-year-old? He would call every night.
I know.
They would have these long conversations. He bought the family a fax machine so he can have this ability to send them these faxes.
To be in their lives even
all
when he
times.
wasn't there. Yeah.
With the mother, too, he had a relationship.
More
with
so
faxes,
with the mother than anybody else.
Yeah.
She's in control. Control the mother, control everybody.
Exactly. It's a very unique, very bizarre,
it is bizarre,
fascinating story.
It's creepy
depressing,
as hell.
sad, creepy, everything.
And you see these guys, and there was a follow-up show, which you did not watch,
I did not watch it, yeah.
Which
Oprah,
was,
correct?
It was with Oprah.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, and Dan Reed is on stage, the man who directed and produced this whole, of these kids getting together and so forth. Here's Michael with George Bush. George Bush and Michael. There you go. But, so... you just have to think to yourself, well, why? How did this happen to Michael Jackson? That's his preference, and it all does make sense in a way. They're there. They're what is available to him. He can control them. It's 10 times worse than Bill Cosby because he's going after 7-year-olds.
Well, that's the epitome of taboo behavior in our culture. Well, as it should be. You go to prison and you're somebody who's done something with kids.
Yeah.
You're not going to last.
Oh no.
Because that's the one thing that's crossing the line
you won't
for
be
everybody.
sitting down for the rest of your stay in that prison.
You're going to get a shank, you know, or whatever.
No, not just that. You won't be sitting down because your ass is going to hurt so much.
Most of the time they
forgive my graphic moment there, people.
But most of the time pedophiles are killed. Very rarely are they allowed to stay. They don't generally finish their sentence. They are killed.
Yeah.
Generally with extreme prejudice, because that's just the ultimate evil deed.
And I have
to do
to talk
something
about,
with the children.
and working with you all these years, you never let me finish my sentence either. But
no, come on, you're the king of that.
Well, no, that's not
you
true.
are. No, you're
but
worse
anyway,
than that.
this guy on the second show, on the Oprah show, was very fascinating. This is Jimmy.
That's Jimmy.
Jimmy, and
that's
this is
Wade.
Correct. And he now is just a superstar in his own right. I don't know if he's still directing, and I looked him up on IMDb. He has a lot of videos and stuff. I guess he's still doing.
I have to imagine.
They didn't really go into the whole thing they didn't go into the whole thing. Here's Wade as a young boy, and a great dancer that he
mimics Michael Jackson to an uncanny degree.
But these guys, I tell you, they were so thrilled to find each other because they had gone into both of them went into a horrifying depression because there's just nobody else to talk to about your specific you know, the thing that is now damaging them, and they are obviously damaged. When the show first started, I have to say, I did feel I was a little uncomfortable with them sitting there talking very personally to a camera, and I almost felt like it was all staged and prepared and you know.
Well, that's always going to be our first thought.
Well, of course. I mean, you know, the more you watch it and the more you realize there's so much footage, there's so much stuff to back up everything, every word they say. There's these kind of photographs.
Everywhere. They have all the faxes. They have the voicemails. All that stuff.
Michael sitting in the bedroom, on
the floor. I saw that
in the home. Well, not just there, but sitting in the home. You know, just
in his pajamas or whatever. Yeah.
I know. I mean, you know, he sets this up. It's a whole moment, as I said, of seduction, and how he does it is quite ingenious, and yet it's so disturbing. And that's exactly how we know it's all true. We just know it's true because of Michael was called out, I believe, either 2 or 3 times in court in L.A.
Yeah.
Got off the big one, you know, 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
One guy he paid off.
And the other one, there was the testimony of 2 people, one of them being Macaulay Culkin, claiming that nothing happened between them.
I wonder if anything
Corey
happened.
Feldman also says nothing happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he was a little older.
A little older, too.
Was he? Or I know he was Goonies.
Yeah, I don't know the timeline.
I'm not sure either.
But regardless.
Both the mothers were very disturbed and very horrified.
And both families were kind of breaking up and problems. And
a lot of mix-ups.
In a way, you know, he's a lot of the cause.
He destroyed these people's lives.
And then now both these men are married. I know that at the very least, the one of them has kids. I don't know about the other one. But, you know, this is something that he denied for the longest time and then admitted to his wife.
I don't know if Wade has kids.
I think it's just Jimmy that does.
I think
Jimmy talks about telling his wife about all this stuff. And what a big thing that was. And then the questions that she had about, well, how does this make you feel now about the fact that you have a son? And he's like, no, it's not going to affect it at all. If anything, that made me realize that I have to get this off my chest.
Right. Because he felt he could see in his own mind Michael Jackson what if Michael Jackson did this to his kid?
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's thinking, well, wait, this happened to me.
Yeah.
So he now resents his mother.
I know. For
allowing it to happen. Not that she ever did, because Michael was the true key here in keeping all of this a huge secret. And secrets do nothing but destroy lives.
I know.
In every sense, especially when there's sex involved.
Exactly.
It's
terrible.
It's a heartbreaking story, and I know we could sit here, for another 15 minutes.
But regardless, I would recommend people to check it out. If you're interested in this kind of a thing, it's disturbing at times. The descriptions of the sexual acts are very graphic at times.
It's just,
but it's riveting.
You know,
I was riveted, especially by the first part.
Well, it's oral sex on both Michael's behalf and the other boy's behalf. I mean,
everything is discussed. All the vernacular.
All correct.
You know,
it is all discussed, but it's basically just that. It just comes down to the oral thing that Michael.
Yeah, but there's things that Michael likes to stare at while he's taking care of himself,
right,
which is gross. We don't need to get into it, but there are some very disgusting things on display.
Yeah, there's
verbally.
You know, Michael turns this into a regular porn world.
And the sick part too is that the boys, when they start seeing that there's a distance between Michael, when they're not in his presence all the time, and these other boys are now the big thing. There's jealousy, and then when they get together with Michael again, and the sexual acts come back, then they feel better temporarily.
Right.
Oh, things are back. Me and Michael are one again, which is so messed up.
Well,
yeah, the familiarity is back.
Correct.
All that stuff.
And I liked Jimmy there when he talked about how the seduction started before they even met Michael. You know, and it started with this.
Yeah.
It started with Michael on stage doing the moonwalk. Michael on stage being Michael
Whatever
Jackson.
He's doing. Yeah.
And the entire world just embracing him as they do. So the love affair with Michael, and here he is. You know, I mean, this doesn't look like a man here. You know, he's actually kind of turning himself into a woman. I thought that was kind of interesting when the kid said that, you know, Michael, there's an oral moment there, and Michael wanted the kid to put his hands on his hair, and he said specifically, he says, it just felt like steel wool to me.
He did Brillo.
It was really, it was like a Brillo pad. You know, it's a horrifying thing, and you know, maybe it's something that nobody really needs to see. I think we already kind of knew in our heart and soul and our guts that Michael Jackson was a pedophile. I mean, you know, he's just been hanging out with kids pretty much his entire adult life.
That's it.
His adult life.
Yeah.
Obviously, and not when he should have, when he was a young boy, but he was touring.
I know.
He was the head of the band.
I know he was.
He was the lead singer. You know, Jermaine and well, Janet and LaToya, they weren't part of that, but the brothers, the brothers, he was the main man, and he was the head guy. So he had more pressure on him from Joe, and you know, everything was just support Michael. Michael was the star, and not so many stars. And that's one of the great things about the Oprah thing, is that she really talks about, you know, she is a black woman, and here she is realizing and talking about, and just Oprah's word alone is gospel amongst we the human race. So she gives great credibility to this entire two-part thing. Oprah's endorsement means, I believe it happened. Oprah believes it happened. And if Oprah believes it happened, here's his kids, here's little Prince, and here's Paris right there.
I worry about them. Not that they're going to do the same things, but are they going to grow up? You know, I don't want them to be.
The repercussions of this event.
I know exactly what you're saying. That could come back to haunt them now.
Exactly.
It's not their fault. They didn't ask to be born into this, you know?
It's horrifying.
I feel bad for them.
It's horrifying.
We'll see what happens.
I feel bad for them, too.
Yeah.
I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad for Michael Jackson.
I know. It's a shame that he had to become this.
He became it because he was forced into it.
I really
do believe that. I mean, you know, priests, it's all that's there. It's all that's there. We have a sex drive in this planet.
Yeah, it's not natural to suppress it.
Exactly.
Well, that's my dad said it for years. You know, the whole thing about the Catholic Church having the celibacy rule.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that that's based in biblical scripture. That's just about the Catholic Church wanting to control all of you.
Exactly.
Whether you're a nun, whether you're a priest. It's about control.
Ain't got none, can't get none, don't want none.
That's why I love this new Pope. Well, he's not really new anymore, but Pope Francis.
No, he's like a hippie pope.
He's into, for example, in some of the rural areas in Brazil where they have a lack of priests, he's lifting the celibacy rule to allow married men to become priests.
Right.
Because they need priests over there.
They do.
And if that's going to be happening there, maybe that's something that will then start to spread elsewhere.
It's a shame, you know.
Because he's revitalizing the church in many ways.
I know he is indeed.
In a lot of good ways.
How do you separate the, the priest from the choir boys?
Yeah.
With a crowbar.
Exactly.
You know.
But anyway, we should move on. It's almost 25 minutes we're talking about this.
Well, actually, it's 7. It's 5. It's only 17 minutes, actually.
I said it's going on
17, 22 minutes.
Yeah, remember, we started at 7 of.
Yeah, so 22 minutes.
Yeah,
so 17 and 7.
Yeah, I said we're going on 25 minutes.
24 minutes. You're right.
Yeah, we're going to 25.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying. You're arguing semantics. We should move on because we have other things to do.
Let's do it.
We're going to move on. Check it out if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too.
If you don't...
we understand if you don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just giving it our stamp of approval.
But it was
interesting.
It was fascinating.
But it's a deep dive, and it's a 4-hour dive.
4 hours.
5 if you watch the Oprah
5 if you watch that. 6 if you watch The Maid on 60 Minutes.
Oh, yeah.
On CBS. Yeah, that's a whole hour episode.
Exactly. So we're going going to migrate from this.
There you go.